Hey, I'm Russell Leeds.
And I'm Anna Leeds.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. So on this week's show, we're going to be talking about what you should be investing in 2025. So this is your year. We say that every year, but this is actually going to be your year. 2024 was an interesting year. Before we sort of move on, I suppose, to 2025, from a property investor's perspective, what did you think of 2024?
Well, I think there was a lot of talk about there being a lot of problems for property investors, and it was almost going into this year, I think people are anxious about property investing. I actually don't think much happened. I think nothing of any big shakes, really.
No.
I think it was relatively easy going, and actually day-to-day property investing, it didn't change all that much.
No. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think you're right. I think we have this every year when there's a new government coming in.
Yeah.
Or you know, even things like Brexit. The world's going to end. It's either going to be amazing, or it's going to be horrendous. And actually, it's just kind of like someone was saying to me the other day, what do you actually think of then the fallout of Brexit? I'm like, I have to queue in a different queue maybe at the airport.
Yeah.
Because I haven't got an EU passport anymore. That's the only thing I've actually noticed, really. I haven't noticed anything good. It's not like, we're saving loads of money and we're free. I haven't noticed anything bad. It's just sort of ticked along. And I think a lot of it's the same with like government policy, obviously with, Labour getting in. It's like, it's going to be terrible for landlords. And I do think Labour have a history of being a little bit more stringent, shall we say, on landlords and capitalists. Having said that, if we look at like all the stuff the Tories did over the last, a lot of the bad things that came in were under Tory leadership for property investors.
Yes, yeah.
And all in all, it hasn't made much difference. And then we look at the markets. It's like, it's going to go down this year. But in reality, when you're investing in property, this is the same for any investment. If you're investing, unless you're like a trader who's like, if you're buying stocks and shares and selling them the next day when they go up, or if you're buying a property and flipping it really quickly, fluctuations in the market, then it's not ideal.
Yeah.
But if you're buying and holding, we know over time property is going to go up.
Yeah. And I think obviously there was a lot of drama issues this year in terms of we had all the elections, and you can get so wrapped up in it. And I agree, it's good to know a bit about it and what's going on. I'm not saying just hide yourself in a room and pretend nothing's happening, but I think you can get over wrapped up in it for the little effect it probably actually has on business and has on property investing on day to day. Like you can almost spend hours and hours and hours looking into policies that either never come to be, and you can almost, why spend all your energy on that? My honest opinion is just get on with you.
Just do you.
Just do you.
You
get on
create
with
your own economy.
Yeah.
Rather than worrying about what's going on.
You can spend a lot of time. And every year there'll be different dramas. This year, I'm sure. But I think it's good to stay focused on what you're doing and not sometimes block out some of the noise around rather than getting totally wrapped up in that. Because actually, I think 2024, nothing major happened in the property world. Actually, even though we went in all very anxious for this year, I think it was pretty...
Yeah. So with that being said, let's delve into the petty details of 2025. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. I think it's important that you look at trends. You're aware, but you don't get too bogged down. The other thing is that the news in general is very negative, and the worst thing is the amount of landlords that sold up. Because they were scared. They're making bad financial decisions because of the news, and they're scared. It's like, oh no, I need to get out. Capital gains tax is going to go through the roof. Quick sell. There were all the people selling, and then it didn't. It didn't change. Footwear did change, but not for properties. So it wouldn't have affected them at all. So you're right. Be aware. Keep an eye on the news. Keep an eye on what's going on. Keep an eye on the changes. But remember that in reality, it's not going to make a massive difference. If you listen to this today and you just went and bought any property in anywhere in the UK and you sat on it for 20 years and rented it out, it'd be worth a lot more in 20 years than it is now.
Yeah.
Right. So you kind of quids in unless you're an absolute. I mean, you can screw up if you bought something at auction that had a mine underneath it or something. You know, maybe not, but pretty much if you bought a vanilla property, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But you might as well give yourself the best edge. So let's have a talk then about what you should be buying, what you should be investing in, where you should be investing.
Oh, that's a good one.
2025. So I've actually done a little bit of research to have a look at a few things. Number one, we're judging areas on how nice they are as an area overall.
Yeah.
Right? So, it might be that somewhere's got a really good ROI, but it's absolute crap hole. So that would be, okay,
yeah,
that's not a very nice area. So how nice is that area overall? What the ROI is like in an area, so how much actual cash flow you're going to make from your property. And also, most importantly, the ROI that you're expected to make, the yields and stuff in those areas. And I've ranked the top 10 most popular investment cities in the UK.
Okay.
As to how good they are. So I'm gonna fill you in on this now. Should we start from the top? Let's start from the bottom, shall we?
Let's start from the bottom.
So the very worst area to invest in, out of the top 10 most popular investment areas. So these are the cities that landlords and property investors buy properties the most. The very worst of all those top 10 is. It's London. And it pains me to say because I do love London as a city, but London I don't think you should be investing in 2025 for a few reasons. First of all, capital appreciation is not expected to go up as high as the rest of the UK actually. So we're looking at about 14% capital appreciation over the next 5 years is what's predicted. Also, they're very expensive.
Yeah.
So the rents versus the property prices aren't great. So a lot of people always say, "Oh, you buy in London for the capital appreciation." It's not looking like we're going to get that. It's very expensive. It's not looking like you're going to get the rents versus what you're putting in. I just don't think it's a particularly good area to invest in.
That's very disappointing, London.
Right now. It is, because I love London.
Yeah, I do.
I do love London. London, I was talking about being a nice area as well. London's too big to be a nice area.
Yeah.
What's your favourite part of London? If you were buying in London, where would you buy?
Oh, Marylebone.
Marylebone. And what you just to live there?
Yeah. Just for a private house.
Yeah, it's not an investment. We're not on the Property Investors podcast. We're just on the Property to Live in Mansions podcast.
Sorry, got carried away there.
I'd buy
do you know actually where I might invest? An investment one, Shepherd's Bush.
Okay, why Shepherd's Bush?
Because you've got the big shopping centre. And actually, I say I, like we're not a couple. We looked at getting an investment property there, and I actually do think that was quite a good location.
Yeah, we were trying to kill two birds with one stone though, because the real reason we wanted to buy it was because we live. I don't know what we were thinking, because like we can get into London city centre in 23 minutes on the train. We are right on the edge, but we thought it'd be quite cool. Because obviously we're not on the tube line. It'd be quite cool to have like a flat or something on the tube line. And with Shepherd's Bush, it's West London. It's quite easy for us to get in and out. But then, yeah, I don't know what we were thinking. We didn't do it anyway, but we were tempted.
No, but I think that would be good. And you've got that massive shopping centre.
The Westfields.
Yeah. I actually think that would make a good investment property.
I quite like Shepherd's Bush. And the property prices aren't, it's not like Marylebone. It's not ridiculous. So you want to do it again?
You just poo-pooed both my ideas.
Well, sorry, mate, but I wouldn't do it, I'm afraid. All right, so London, we've just agreed, is the worst area, but bless her, she wants to buy something in London, a big mansion in Marylebone. All right, next, number 9, the second worst area for you to invest in the whole of the UK right now. And again, it's another city that I actually quite like.
Yeah.
I do actually quite like this city, but sorry, if you're from Bristol, you shouldn't be. We would recommend not investing in Bristol. Capital appreciation is not great in the southwest. We're looking at about 18%. Again, it's higher property prices, similar problems. Not as bad as London because it's all less extreme, but similar problems to London. Expensive property prices, not amazing rents, and we're not expecting anything special from the capital appreciation. Just to give you an example, like the average property price in Bristol is 294 grand. London's this is the average buy to let, by the way. I'm sure that the normal houses are more expensive. Average buy-to-let's 294 grand. The average SA nightly rate is 107. So you're spending like 300 grand on a property and getting £100 a night as an SA. It's not really doing
Better
it for
areas.
me. Much better areas. Right. So as you probably expected, we're now going to move up north to find some good areas because they just are cheaper up north. Samuel wrote a book, his very first book when he started, seriously investing in property, Buy Low, Rent High. And I do think that still stands. If you can buy a cheaper property and then use a creative strategy like HMO, which is what he talked about in his book, or service accommodation or social housing, that's the way to make money in property. So here's our next area. Number 8, we're now moving into decent territory. Sheffield. So Sheffield, Yorkshire and Humber, they're looking at capital appreciation of about 28%.
Nice.
In those areas. So that's pretty decent.
I don't know Sheffield really at all. I feel like...
It's the steel city, isn't it, Sheffield?
I don't know if I've ever been.
I'm trying to think. Samuel did his first FF challenge in Sheffield. It was picked randomly out of a hat.
Okay. No, yeah. I don't feel like...
I'm not sure if I've ever been to Sheffield.
I don't know if that's... Maybe we'll have to go and visit.
I mean, I'm basing this purely on the numbers and statistics rather than my personal experience.
No, it's just because you were talking about like knowing area. I was just thinking, I don't think I know Sheffield at all.
No, I don't know it very well. It's got a strong student demand.
Okay,
it's improving area, which is always good when you're buying.
Yeah.
If you're buying into an improving area, average property price 152 grand for a buy-to-let.
Yeah. The SA rate's quite low though, isn't it?
But it is, right? But it's 152 grand and the SA rate is 83 quid. So 150 grand, 83 quid. You know, that's low. But it's half the price of Bristol. Bristol's 107.
Yeah, true.
So it's actually not too bad.
Go Sheffield.
Now, next one, number 7. It's one of my favourite cities.
Yeah.
I've only been there once. We want to go again.
Yep.
But I really, really like it. It's not actually in England, but it is still in the UK. That actually does put me off it, though, because the rules are different for buying property in Scotland, and that does put me off it. But just purely looking at the numbers, and if you live there, if you're Scottish, if you're from Scotland, Edinburgh, definitely a good place to invest. Expected to have high capital appreciation of about 25% over the next 5 years, which is good. Decent rental yields. They are relatively expensive property prices, 250 grand, so it is on the expensive side, but that's still cheaper than Bristol. And the rents are higher. Okay, so it does work quite well.
I do think Edinburgh's just got a lot going for it, though, hasn't it? Like, I think it really is. Like, London gets the people because it's a tourist place. I think Edinburgh, like when you say Sheffield and Bristol, but Edinburgh's another one of those tourists flock to it, don't they?
Yeah.
So I think to have properties, I'd be very interested in having properties in Edinburgh.
Yeah, and Glasgow is the other one, number 6. We put Glasgow on there as well. It's kind of similar. It's a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like, if that's quite a lot cheaper. So expecting similar sort of levels of capital appreciation, rather than being 250 grand for property, you're looking at about 140 for a buy-to-let. So it's considerably cheaper, and the rents are lower, but not massively lower. So the yields are better. It's got a really good yield of 7.95% in Glasgow. I don't like Glasgow as much, though.
No, I don't. I'd pick Edinburgh over Glasgow.
How much do you go on whether you... Because I think for SA, for me personally, even when the numbers show it to be slightly worse, I tend to want to go for the nicer area.
Yeah. I would. I can't help but be slightly swayed.
So we're looking around here, because while these are the best places, by no means does this mean these are the places, and we'll get to number 1 in a minute, but by no means are these the only places you can invest. I would actually recommend investing near to you. So if anywhere this is near you, great. If it's not, you can find places like this. These are the big cities, these are the most popular places, but find similar places like this that are closer to you. So I'll give you an example. Obviously, we live near London. London's one of the worst, right? Yeah. So do we go all the way up to Sheffield or to, Leeds or places like that? Or do we look for areas around here? So an area that we like, that we're looking to invest in right now, is Windsor.
Yeah.
Now, Windsor it's not going to tick the list for the absolute best, but it's really nice, works really well for SA, really good occupancy rate, really close to home.
Yeah.
It's never going to make a top tier list like this, but it's still somewhere that we're interested in because it's 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes you can't beat that, can you?
No.
Because if you know an area and it's just down the road, it just is good for it's just.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons. I know a lot of Londoners that own all their properties up north.
Yeah.
And that's cool. You can have a patch up north, that's fine. Both work, but I'm just saying don't be absolutely limited to this list. Number 5 is Birmingham. Birmingham is decent for capital appreciation, although not quite as good as say, Scotland. But the reason it beats it is the yields, the house prices, SA average. It's pretty a decent city. I actually don't like Birmingham.
No, when you mentioned, are you swayed by cities you like? And I saw that next on the list, I thought, well, yeah, because I wouldn't be investing there.
Yeah, and we can say that because we're from there. We're from near there. But
you even said that we've not. Well, don't say that.
No, I'm not actually from Birmingham. Not from me.
I did go to college in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So I did, and I've got a Birmingham accent.
Well, you actually haven't. So you actually don't have a Birmingham accent. You have a Black Country accent. Which is different to a Birmingham accent.
Yeah, it is.
And I can tell the difference. I hear someone from Birmingham. Now, no one else can.
No, and everyone goes, "Oh, you Birmingham."
You got a Birmingham accent.
Yeah.
Oh, I accept it. Yeah, I've got a Birmingham accent. I actually don't.
Yeah.
But you'd look a bit of a dick, wouldn't you? Oh, you got a Birmingham accent. No, it's a Black Country accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I personally wouldn't invest in Birmingham. I'm not a massive fan of the city.
If you did invest in Birmingham, I asked you this about London, where would you invest?
Probably, and when I say probably, I mean definitely.
Probably, definitely.
The only place.
Sounds like an Oasis album.
I would invest is Brindley Place. They have, if that little pocket in Brindley Place, they have made a good job of doing it up. Good nightlife. We did consider getting an apartment there, didn't we?
But just to sort of like, put a pin in this though. Anywhere we ever go, we talk about buying property.
Yeah.
Right,
so I might say that about other than Sheffield, where we've never been.
Literally any holiday, we'll go on viewings. We'll genuinely stack it. We're like, should we buy in Brazil?
Yeah,
should we buy in Spain?
Oh, we actually did go on property viewings in Brazil, didn't we?
And we bought stuff with Samuel in Ghana.
Yeah.
Anywhere we go. So just because we consider buying there does not necessarily mean.
And to be honest, looking at that list, that would probably be bottom of my personal list.
Really? So
Birmingham,
you would rather buy
London
in London than Birmingham?
Yeah, I would.
Or Bristol?
Yeah.
Even if the figures are way worse?
Yeah.
See, this is why I'm the decision maker in our property business, because you've got numbers, guys. Numbers. Formulas
so
over
obviously,
feelings.
yeah, but my feelings would very much sway to not buy in Birmingham.
All right, a slightly better version of Birmingham. It's slightly cheaper. The rents are slightly higher. The yield is slightly better. The SA rates are slightly higher. It's still in the Midlands. So it's better in every way, actually. Is Nottingham.
Yeah.
So if you're from the Midlands and you think, I want to buy in the Midlands, I want to stay close to home, it's nearby, and you want to go for a city centre, I would recommend Nottingham over Birmingham, and that comes in at number 4.
And we've never considered buying somewhere there.
I don't think we have, actually. No.
Maybe we need to go on holiday there.
Well, we have been on holiday there.
Have we?
Yeah. You can't remember going on holiday to Nottingham?
No.
Sherwood Forest.
Oh, yeah.
Centre Parks.
Centre Parks, no, and I didn't know.
You probably did. You were probably like, let's set up our own Centre Parks.
Yeah, no, right. Probably.
Number 3. Okay, we're in the top 3 now. So
I like this city.
This is sort of like A-tier properties now. This is like A-tier cities. These are the properties that you really want to be looking at. We do own some stuff here, albeit it's actually land. But Leeds. So Leeds, really good capital appreciation, strong rental yields, it's a growing market, great student trade, business trades, good for HMOs and service accommodation and social housing and affordable housing. So it's a really good city overall.
And a good football team.
And a good football team. Yeah, Leeds, very, very solid area for you to invest in. Now, the top 2 are interesting because the stats in terms of yield, money in, money out, the place I've put as number 2 is better.
Yeah.
So in some ways, on paper, number 2 is the best area to invest in the UK. However, the reason I put it as number 2 is I just don't like it as much as number 1.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I can see that.
So these two are very close.
Yeah.
Very, very close. Number 2, on paper, the best place to invest in the UK. Capital appreciation is really high, very high rental yields, very affordable properties, strong HMO potential, and it just ticks every box from an investment point of view. Average house price in this city, £129.
Yeah, that's crazy. That
Average
is.
buy-to-let house price in this city, and the rents are still good. 801 is the best yield on the list. So number 2, can you guess what it is yet? Actually, I probably should do an impression of him. Number 2 is Liverpool. Liverpool, statistically, the best place to invest in the UK. So very highly recommended. If you live anywhere in Liverpool, or even if you don't, if you want to invest in Liverpool, it's a brilliant area to invest in. Very, very cheap. So it's a great starter place if you're starting with low amounts of money. It's just an excellent place to invest. Although when I went to Liverpool, I noticed loads of like abandoned buildings. So I was driving through Liverpool, I was like, oh, and now when I see abandoned buildings, I always think development opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, or there's like pieces of land. It's like, oh, development opportunity. And I'm like, wow, Liverpool's goldmine for development opportunity. But what I realised is, and this is a blessing and a curse, is because the house prices are so low, it actually costs more to build the house than it would be worth in the end.
Yeah.
So even if they were giving out the land for
That's
free,
crazy, isn't it?
no one will be able to do it. So it doesn't really work for development. So it depends on your strategy. But if you're doing buy-to-let investing or service accommodation, HMO investing, Liverpool, fantastic place.
I remember going to Liverpool years ago now, and it's the only city I remember driving into where I've ever seen, like you were saying about like empty, derelict houses, boarded up. I've never driven into a city where you feel like you're almost going through a ghost town of like, does anyone actually live here? Like, that house is derelict, a few houses down, that one's boarded up, a few houses down, that one's I'd never seen that before until I went to Liverpool, and I was like, wow, there is a lot of abandoned buildings
And
here.
how did that make you feel? Was this a first world problem moment?
No, I was just saying, I've never seen that in cities before.
Yeah. No, because the Midlands doesn't really have that.
No,
does it?
and
No.
I've only ever seen it in Liverpool, and I thought
I'm sure someone's going to point out now that there is an area in the Midlands that does, but I can't think of any.
No.
Like Glasgow or anything like that. You can see it's the odd boarded up house.
but this
not
was
regular
quite, and I
ones.
don't know where we were in Liverpool.
Have you seen it in America? They have it literally where it's whole like housing estates, like that, where it's just.
I find that really interesting. I saw one on Top Gear once. Sorry, on a total side note.
Yeah.
It was also like, get back on track. No,
Well, that's the beauty. It's a podcast. You can talk about what you want. Go on.
on Top Gear, and they raced round like a mini. It was basically the equivalent of like a town. So there was shops abandoned. There was nothing there, but it was this whole town, but no one lived there. And they raced the cars round, and they're like, it's just no one lives here. And I thought, oh wow, I'd love to go and see that. Just
They have that in Italy as well, don't they?
Yes.
There was that show, wasn't there? I can't remember.
Amanda Holden, and they bought a property there, didn't they? And did it up, and they bought it for £1 or and then rented it out. But the problem is, no one's going to go to a village with one house done up.
I always think, like, surely, like some intelligent person will buy all of them.
Yeah, that's what I always think, and then just create a community.
Yeah.
But that never actually seems to happen, does it?
I think it would cost too much money. I think.
But also, isn't there restrictions? They won't allow someone to do that. I'm sure they said on that programme that you can't.
A lot of those, they make you, if you buy it, you have to live in it.
Yeah, they won't just let you go, right, well, I'll buy 40 then, 40 quid.
Yeah.
I've got 40 houses there, yeah. But I just thought it was really...
Or even though, like, obviously we've got a company, we've got like 60 members of staff. We could go, we're moving you all to,
Yeah.
we're moving the whole company to.
Do you know what, though? I reckon if there was somewhere in England like it, I reckon that is the kind of thing we'd do.
Liverpool? Nah. All right, number 1. The best place, in my opinion, to invest. This is based off of stats and also a tiny bit of bias because I like the city.
Yeah.
I actually got family from the city.
Yeah, good city this is.
Good city is number 1, Manchester. It's great capital appreciation, high rental yields, brilliant for HMOs, service accommodation, and affordable prices. It's great. I think Manchester feels like a mini London.
Yeah.
It's like London, but just nowhere near as big. All it's the good bits.
Yeah.
Night out in Manchester, brilliant. Average house price is a respectable 196 grand. Decent yields. Average rent's just over £1,000. Good SA market. I just really like it as a city. I think it's a great place to invest.
Yeah.
I was chatting to a couple at a Christmas party, and they, sort of picking my brain about where to invest. What are the best places? And they'd just bought in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Liverpool and Manchester, in my opinion, for 2025 are the two best places to invest. And they were actually doing HMOs. So once you've picked an area and decided what to invest in, where to invest, what should you invest in? What sort of deal would you be looking for the very best returns in 2025, in your opinion?
So I'm just... Oh no, my mind was still on Manchester there. What would I invest in?
Yeah, so would you be...
Well, I'd be going to Manchester.
You'd be going to Manchester first of all. Invest in property. There you go, guys.
Well, I think BRRs.
I think BRRs right now.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of good reasons actually for BRRs. I think the new stamp duty rule. So the stamp duty rule, obviously, if you don't know, has gone... The stamp duty is massively increased. However... For certain type of BRRs, for example, commercial to residential, if you're doing commercial or residential, you can get around that by paying commercial levels of stamp duty. Or if the property that you're buying is unlivable, uninhabitable, doesn't have kitchens, has got problems with it that make it uninhabitable, which you want for a good BRR.
Yeah.
So you're saving a lot of money on stamp duty straight away, which I think is a really, really good start. Yeah. Also with BRRs, you're buying a property that's run down, so you're bringing it up, but doing that makes you the money, so you can pull your money back out again, which means you can buy again and again. So I think there's lots of pros for BRRs. Yeah. Finding rundown properties, renovating them.
And I think if I found a BRR, if you're going for the cities, I'd then do SA. I think in city centres, SA is the way to go personally.
Yeah.
I think, buy-to-lets, if you're just investing in like little towns, but if you're actually getting places in city centres.
And people say to me, I post about SA on Instagram, a common comment if I'm talking about SA, rent this out as SA. Oh, yeah, well, you wait for the rules to change, pal. And it's like, right, but I'm like, people have been saying that to me for like 5 years.
Yeah, that's a classic of getting caught up in everyone got rid of their SAs 5 years ago because they thought rules were coming in.
Yeah.
And now everyone's like, oh. And you... At the moment, it works. It's great.
It works. We're no closer. If new stuff comes in, great. We'll adapt. Like HMOs.
Yeah.
HMOs are still good. Yes, rules have come in. Your Article 4, you've got to adapt. You've got licensing, etc., etc. I'm sure it will happen eventually to service accommodation. But there's a saying, isn't there? Make hay while the sun shines. At the end of the day, as long as... If you're doing a BRR and you're no money down and you rent it out as SA for 5 years and then it changes and now you've got to do it as a buy-to-let or now you've got to get a licence... Right, cool.
And
that's
also,
fine.
I think property investing, at the end of the day, it's your job. It's a business. And business changes over time. If we ran a marketing company, how you market now to how you market 10 years ago, the people that are still going, no, I'm not changing. It's a business. Yeah, over the years, strategies will change and maybe the rules, like you say, will come in. And you go, okay, let's do it as a buy-to-let or let's do it like this or... It's a business. It changes. You can't just panic every time. There might be a change. That's life, isn't it? And business.
Yeah. Also, they say that, it's like with different types of jobs. Oh, will that job even be around? It's like, yeah, but it is now.
Yeah. So do it now.
People change career now all the time. You've got to be fluid. You've got to be adaptable. Yeah. I totally agree. So what we're saying is invest maybe near where you live, find an area.
Yeah.
The things you want to be checking is the house price versus the rent, main thing. And then how much do you like the area? So what are the house prices in the area? What's the rent? That's how you're working out if it's a good deal. Even if you're not planning on doing it as a buy-to-let, I still think you want to know that. Number one, for the mortgage stress test. We want to make sure it works. But number two is your backup strategy. Your plan B. Worst case, you're always going to be able to do buy-to-let. Yeah. People aren't going to go, I don't want to live in houses anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So you're always going to be able to rent houses out, especially in England or a small island. It's not like Detroit where you've got rows and rows of empty streets. Even Liverpool, people want to live. even in Liverpool. So you're always going to find people that want to live there. So check that. If that works, think about how you're going to rent it out. I also like SA. I also like HMOs. So they're both very good strategies. The people I was talking to that bought in Liverpool are doing HMOs.
Yeah. See, again, Liverpool might be a better city for that HMOs than Manchester is. You just need to look into the areas, don't you?
Exactly. So check that out. But I would try and find an area either close to you or pick one of these. Pick one of these top ones. Invest in Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester, Nottingham. Even. No,
Are you going to say?
Don't invest in Birmingham. No. Yeah, invest in one of those 4 areas or pick an area near you that kind of ticks the boxes. Have a think about how you're going to rent it out. I would highly consider doing BRR, buy, refurbish, refinance, buying a rundown property, renovating it to add value and pulling your money back out, because it's the best use of your money. It allows you to invest again and again and again. Also, it's not a money thing now, but again, sort of I would say formulas over feelings, but a feeling thing. It is quite nice to take a really crap property and make it nice.
Yeah,
You're improving the community. Same as property development. You're making the area better.
Yeah.
There is a niceness to that. So I'd highly recommend BRR in one of these areas and then renting it out, probably as SA, maybe as a HMO. But you've got to do what works for you. Find an area, a strategy. And it's very different. It's like saying, what's the best car?
Yeah. Some of it just comes down to preference, doesn't it?
It's the G-Wagon.
But talking about Manchester, though, great city. I think the crash course is going there this month, isn't it?
It should be.
I think, do we pick it because we just like going to Manchester?
Well, yeah. There's a reason why the crash course is in Manchester, not in Liverpool.
So that's why we know of the good nights out in Manchester.
And London. Don't invest in London though. So what you want to do? Book a big day of viewings in Manchester, the day after the crash course. Come to the crash course, learn all about how to invest in property, and then bang, straight after that, go on to it's £1, by the way. So it's £1. Yeah, and now it's a the rest of it is a business expense. All your travel and everything, it's all the business expense. So yeah, go to the crash course. Then the next day, book a full day of viewings and go and view Manchester and invest in Manchester or wherever suits you best. Guys, thanks ever so much for watching. I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Anna Leeds,
and we'll see you next week.